Hello, it's Father John Paul with the next of our series of videos about our Catholic faith. And as we get into the spring, it's a time of many people having weddings coming up. So I thought it would be a great time to talk about marriage, about the great sacrament of holy matrimony. And I want to start my reflections there with the word sacrament. As Catholics, we believe that matrimony is a sacrament. And just to review, what is a sacrament? A sacrament is a visible sign instituted by Jesus Christ that conveys an invisible grace. That's what a sacrament is. There's lots of signs in our world and in our church, but most of them aren't sacraments. So what's the difference? To take an example totally out of the faith, you're driving down the street in your car and you're approaching an intersection and there's a metal pole and a red octagon on top of the pole. That's a sign. It's conveying a message that you should stop. And if you don't, and an officer of the law sees you, you're going to be in trouble. What if a stop sign was a sacrament? Then as your car was approaching the intersection, the stop sign itself would stop your car. See that? It's not just conveying information, it's actually accomplishing the very thing that the sign is conveying. That's what a sacrament is. And the sacrament of matrimony, if you look at the themes of all the prayers of the wedding mass and the readings and all the rest, it's clear the main sign or symbol is two people becoming one. And that's what happens in the sacrament of marriage. The Catechism defines marriage as a covenant or a partnership of a man and a woman, lifelong, a partnership of life and of love that's ordered towards the good of the couple and towards the procreation and education of children. So, think about the altar on the wedding day, where you have the bride and the groom there standing in the presence of the priest or the deacon, and they pronounce their vows to each other. And always the groom always goes first, pronouncing the vows, and then the bride always goes second. And at the moment the last word of the vow formula escapes the bride's lips, that is the moment it happens. At that moment, God, as it were, reaches down from heaven and connects those two people at the level of the soul. Civil authorities can make two people legally married, but only God can connect them at the level of the soul. And that's what a sacramental marriage is. And again, remember the analogy of the stop sign, where it's the stop sign itself that was doing the stopping of the car, if it was a sacrament. In the same way, you have the bride and the groom, and they're pronouncing the vows, but it's God who's acting and joining them. And in fact, in the Catholic wedding ceremony, immediately after the exchange of vows, there's a little couple sentences that the priest or deacon reads, and the last line of that is, "Therefore, what God has joined, man must not put asunder." Again, emphasizing that point that God was the primary actor in what just happened moments ago. So to be joined in that way is an extraordinary grace, an incredible blessing. But like all the blessings from God, He never imposes them on us against our will, but rather we have to be open to receive the blessings that He's given us. And the Church has kind of, through her wisdom over the centuries, kind of put together this kind of list of characteristics or attitudes that the bride and groom have to have going into this ceremony so that they're properly open. First of all, they have to understand the commitment that they're making and what married life and the commitments of married life are. They have to desire that kind of life. They have to intend to live that kind of life and the obligations that flow from it. And they have to be capable of living it. Spiritually capable, but also at the level of human maturity, capable of living the obligations that flow from this partnership of life. And if any of those things are missing, then you don't have or you can't have a sacramental marriage. And part of the role of any priest or deacon doing marriage prep with a couple is making sure he's satisfied that in fact the couple has all of these things in place. And so what are the obligations that flow from this kind of life? Again, the Church in her wisdom has kind of compiled a sense of these. The first is permanence, right? That the couple has to understand and desire that this is a permanent bond that lasts until death. That once a sacramental bond is formed between two people, no power can break that bond. Secondly, is exclusivity. In choosing to connect oneself to this other person in this kind of bond, you are excluding every other person on the face of the planet Earth. I don't know exactly what our population is right now. It's like 4.6 billion. So anyone who's married or is about to get married to someone, you can say, you are 1 in 4.6 billion, because I've chosen you over every other human being walking this planet. The third kind of characteristic is fidelity. In entering into this bond and this partnership of life, you are pledging your fidelity to be faithful to your spouse forever. And finally, the nature of the marital covenant is that it has to be complete. That when you say this I do, and you're accepting this other person as your spouse, you're not saying I accept you, but only on your good days. Only when you're in a good mood. That's not how it works. When you say your I do, you're accepting all of who this person is. The good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, right? It's a complete acceptance of this other person, just as you're giving all of yourself to this other person as well. That's the total and complete nature of the gift and of the reception that lies at the heart of marriage. And this is a great act of faith, to vow yourself until death to do this. As a religious friar, I take vows as well. I make my vows to God, who's perfect, right? God's never going to let me down. But in marriage, you have two people who know that they're flawed, know they're sinners, who nonetheless are willing to say this I do until life. And it seems to me to do that, one of two things has to be true. Either you're crazy, or you have faith, and you believe that God will work through two flawed people to craft something that's truly beautiful and holy. So for all of you living the vocation of marriage right now, thank you for your witness, the witness of your love and your fidelity through the good times and bad, in sickness and in health. And to all of you who are perhaps looking at marriage in your future, I hope this video has helped you to understand a little bit more about what kind of a commitment and what kind of a blessing holy matrimony is. Vivat Jesus.